It's your open source advocate, and I'm back with another video, and today I want to talk about reactive resumes. Now, I recently said during my everything that I use in 2025 video that I had lost my job back in February. This is now June of 2025, and I'm happy to report that I have gotten a new position at a new company, and I'm super excited about it. I will say I did use reactive resumes to build up the resume that I used in order to get that job. I really like this tool. I think it's an amazing tool, and a lot of you guys had a lot of interest in it when I just happened to mention that I was using it and I hadn't done a video on it yet. So I wanted to cover it today. Now you might say, why do I want this? Why do I need this? Why couldn't I just use a word editor? And I did that. I started that way, and I realized, I'm trying to edit something that's pretty long at this point. I've been in a lot of careers and I've got a lot of experience and I've done a lot of different things in my life, and trying to put that all down in a way that made sense was not really jiving for me for some reason at this point. It's been a long time since I've had to apply for a job and build a resume. So I finally just started looking for something, and I came across Reactive Resumes, and it's a really awesome self-hosted, privacy built-in system. You can donate to these guys if you like what it does. I went and donated, especially once I got a job, because I was like, man, this was great. It's just such a super great tool. I'm going to keep it around. It's going to keep running. I'm going to keep updating my resume as we go along, because I want to make sure that I've got that new experience in there. It's a really, really cool project. I think you guys are going to like it. But if you are like me, if you have lost your job, if you are looking for a new position, maybe you're just in a job and you don't like it and you're like, I want to try something else and I want to put together a resume that can help me get there, this is a really great tool. Maybe you're just thinking, maybe I should just keep my resume up to date. Now, there's online tools out there. LinkedIn is a great place. I've tried to get jobs through LinkedIn. I have to say, I did not get this position through LinkedIn. I got this position through networking with people that I have worked with in the past, and it was just such a great experience to be able to do it that way. It's really, really hard on LinkedIn to get your foot in the door, but Reactive Resumes does have what they call an ATS compatible template as well. So if you think that employers are using the ATS system, at least here in the US, I think that's what they use, this could help you with that. But you can go through and tailor these things after they're finished as well. So it's really cool. I think you're going to like this. But if you've been in that position, stick with me. This is not a super complicated setup. I think you're really going to like how it goes together, and I think we're going to really get into some great stuff about how to build your resume. Before we get started, I just want to say thank you so much to all of my patrons over at Patreon. You guys, it means the world to me that you continue to support me, that you continue to support this content, that you continue to support this channel. I hope that I'm giving you value for that. I hope that if you're sticking around, it means that I am. I really, really want to make sure that you're always getting value for your money. So thank you so much for that continued support. I just cannot tell you how much that means to me. For everybody that does a one-off, buy me a beer, buy me a coffee through PayPal, man, it makes my day when I see those things come through. I try to message you guys. Sometimes the messaging works really well. Sometimes I just can't get it to go. I don't know what the deal is with PayPal, but their messaging system is kind of yucky. But I do want you to know, I truly, truly appreciate it. It hits me right in my soul that you want to donate a little bit to me, and I just can't tell you how much I appreciate that, so thank you. For everybody who subscribes over on YouTube, thank you so much. That helps the channel grow, that helps other people find the channel, and it helps them find out about amazing open source software and solutions for things that they may not have realized were out there. If you haven't already done so, go down and click on the subscribe button. Click on that thumbs up so that people know you're enjoying the video and they'll get shown this video as well. It really helps the channel grow, and it just helps things go forward. So thank you again. Now let's get started into Reactive Resumes. As I've been talking through the intro, this is actually my instance of Reactive Resumes that we've been looking at. This is kind of the landing page. So if we go here, we're going to do a login. I will just grab my login for Reactive Resumes. It's a very simple one because it's only running on my local network. Now, I have not set this up with a reverse proxy because I thought this is only something I want to access when I'm at home, and I'm only working on it when I'm at home, but you can set this up through a reverse proxy like Pangolin. So I just did a video on Pangolin, which uses WireGuard in the background and allows you to set up some reverse proxying and punching tunnels through your router without having to open up any firewalls. If you're behind double NAT, or what they call CG-NAT, it's a really great thing. If your ISP blocks ports 80 and 443, it's a really cool thing. So go check that one out. But definitely this is a great application, whether it's local or if you're going to put it out there so you can access it from outside of your network. Really cool. Now, you see I've only got one resume here, but you're not actually limited to one resume. you can add more resumes and you can build out your resume. So it's really interesting because maybe you're applying for different types of jobs, and really tailoring your resume these days is one of those things that you need to do in order to kind of get past some of those bots. I'm sure it's one of those things where you might feel like, I don't know if I'm putting this right. So you can do this in several ways and kind of figure out which one feels the best, which one's the greatest. So I can tell you this, it's very, very easy to get these set up. So you can see, here's my user. So first, let me just show you these things. We've got logout, but we've also got settings. So let's go to the settings. And here you can look at, hey, you know, if you want to put your picture in here instead of just your initials, you can do that, and you can point it to a picture file. Really simple. Your name. So I put in my name, and then I put in my username, and then down here is my email address. Of course, this is my unverified email address because I didn't set up the email side of it, but that's okay. Security. So again, you can change your password, and you can go in here and put in a current password, new password if you need to change it. You can set up two-factor authentication as well. You've got profile things, so you can set up your theme, which I've just got to set the system, which does day or night. So it just does whatever the system's set to. And then English US is what I've got, but there's a lot of languages here. A lot of languages, okay? So definitely go out there and make sure you switch to the language that you're the most comfortable with. It does have OpenAI or Ollama integration, which I never tried. I do run my own little Ollama instance, which maybe I should have tried it, but it's something you guys can get out there and try out if you want to. I love local AI. I think it's amazing. It does some really cool stuff. It helps me just kind of brainstorm some things sometimes. So this could have been pretty cool for doing my resume, but I did not use it. I didn't set it up, but it does have that kind of integration. And then of course, here's the danger zone where you could delete things if you weren't being careful. So definitely be careful about that area. If we go back to our resumes area, so again, you can see here's my normal resume, and when I click on it, I get these options. Open, I can also go to rename it, I can duplicate it, I can lock it so that I can't change it anymore, or I could delete it if I want to. So let's open it first. So when we come here, you see there's templates on the right. Here's your resume. So this is my resume, and it's fairly long, as I said, because I've done a lot of things at this point, and I've got skills that I wanted to list and different stuff. It's probably not the longest resume on the planet because I didn't put everything in here. I was trying to highlight the things that would be relevant for the work that I was seeking, which is hopefully smart. If you change, so I changed the template just now, and you can see it lays it out a little different. If I switch it, there it lays it out a little different again. So you can kind of change it up to be, laid out in different ways, and you can check out the different layouts and see which one you like the best. So here's a different one. Here's yet another one. And there's a bunch. There's a lot of these templates. Now, I think this is the one that's supposed to be ATS friendly. It's pretty plain, and it goes kind of edge to edge on the page there. Let's zoom out and make sure that, oh, there we go. We've got a little bit of border around it, but it's pretty close. If we switch to this one, I kind of like this layout, actually. I don't like this color here, but I like the layout. This one also catches my eye. It's just, to me, like a little bit more spaced out and readable, but I'm not an HR person, so I don't. Oh, this is the ATS. I think this is the one for ATS. Yeah, the Onyx. The Onyx version, I believe, is made for being compatible with ATS systems. And then you've got this one. It kind of shrunk when I did that because it gets rid of some of the stuff that's usually at the bottom. And then here's one more. So yeah, I mean, these things are just. It's a really, really great system. It's got a ton of templating, and then you can set up kind of your own layouts, so you can figure out like what order do you want things to go in. So right now, if you look, it's got me set up for profile, summary, experience, education. So here you can see I've got my experience, and then down here I've got education that starts right here. So the dotted lines are your page breaks, just so you know that. I don't think it breaks right across the words like that, but just be aware that is kind of a place where it's supposed to be a page break. But if we take that and we switch education and experience, then over here it rebuilds very quickly, and now I've got my education at the top and then my experience next. It just depends on what you know people are looking for and in what order. I left it experience education at this point because I'm not fresh out of college. I have a lot of experience. That's where it really speaks to what I should be able to do for a company, and hopefully it's not telling any kind of lies about that. So yeah, this is kind of the way that it works. And I know this is really small on the screen, but I wanted you to be able to see everything that's here. Over on the left is where you enter your data. So you've got full name, so that's going to put it up there. If you want an image, again, it can put an image on some of these templates as you saw. So check out these templates, and if you have an image, then it'll put it there. You can put that image there to try to put it on your template as well. Full name, and then whatever your job was. So your headline, product manager, like what do you want them to know about you as a person? And then a contact email address, phone number, address, website, everything like that. And then down here, you've got this summary section where you can fill in a summary. Now, I haven't done that, but you can fill in a summary about yourself, like what is a little bit more you want them to know about, 3 or 4 sentences about all you'd want to put. And then you have profiles, you have your experience. So for each thing in experience, you go through and build this out a single item at a time. So if I click here, I can go through and edit my experience with this company. And you can see, here's my experience, here's how long I was there, here's their website, and then I have just listed out the things that I did. And you've got some nice little controls here for your rich text editing so that you can go through and make these bullet points. You could make a little table if you needed to, I think. You've got some code here if you need to. You've got heading stuff. So you can really kind of style this quite a bit and make it look really nice. You can bold things if you need to bold things. But the system tries to do some styling of its own with those templates. So keep that in mind. But when you're done, you just click Save Changes, and it puts it back in that section. Now, if things are not in order because you're like me and you just go through and put things in the way that you think about them, you can move stuff around. So I did not have it in this order when it started. I think it was, let's see, I can drag this up. No, there we go, yeah. So I think it was like this. I just had my law enforcement stuff up here, or Large Hadron Collider stuff up here. And then I think I had my law enforcement stuff way up here as well. So it was more like this. And, that's not the way that my experience runs. So I reordered those things to make it right over here. I don't know. It may go by dates, but I think it goes by what you put over here as to what order it puts things in. So know that you can reorder those, but then you can add a new item and you can put something like YouTube creator or YouTube, I don't know, self-employed company. I don't know, self-employed. Let's just call it that. My position was YouTube creator, and the dates were 2019 through today. This is not the way you'd want to put dates, but you get the idea. Location from home. Website is, of course, https:// and we're going to give them the YouTube website, or we can give them my show notes website. It's kind of up to you what you give. So wiki.opensourceisawesome.com, because that takes them to my show notes, which leads them to my videos, so they can see not only the ability I have for making videos, but they can also see the ability I have for making very detailed instructions in written form for you to follow after the video is over. Then you give a little summary of everything that you did. So you can go through here and you can create a bulleted list, and you can say, created content around open source and self-hosted solutions for software and hardware. Built a home lab for working on video content. Learned very little about audio production because you guys are always complaining about my audio. I'm sorry, I've learned a ton since I started, but yes, I guess my audio is still terrible because I still get some really horrible comments about my audio sometimes. But at this point, I just almost find it funny. So there you go. But you get the idea. So you put all these things in, you're building out your resume, and your video editing and special effects. If you've ever seen special effects on my videos, you'd be blown away because I don't have any special effects here. So there, I added something to my resume, and now it should be in there because I am self-employed, and that's going to be added to my resume for all of my experience. Let's see, we've got, it did reorder things, so that one should be the last one, which is self-employed, and you can see right here what I was doing, and the link and everything, and we can just restyle that to whatever we want. So just by clicking on these templates, this is just such an easy system to use. I really like it. If you look over here on the left, you've got all these links. Now I'm going to zoom this up because it is a very small interface, but if I zoom it too far, it does exactly what you see, which is try to put us, I'm going to put this back up. Let me put it there, and you have to stay over what you want to zoom. There we go. So I'm going to make this a little bit bigger if I can. So here's my summary. This is what we were just kind of working on. Here's your profiles. Here's your experience. So you can jump around. You can either just scroll here to get through all these things, or you can just jump over here and actually go to the things that you want to fill in. So here's your education, it's the little graduation hat. Here are your skills, I think that's a compass of some kind. Here's your languages, so it's got the different language letters there. Awards that you may have won, you know, certificates, and let's see, interests. So it has a little joystick controller, so that I think that's a pretty cool section. I have lots of interests, so open source software, music composition, martial arts, programming, data and analytics, physics, science in general, writing novels. So yeah, I've done a lot of things. Did you know that I wrote a novel? I did. And then as you go down, you've got projects. So you've got the awesome open source YouTube channel. I do novel writing, and I'm constantly learning. That's my projects. Publications, I do have an actual publication called The Physics of Martial Arts. I wrote this while I was in graduate school doing my physics program, and I didn't even realize that my professor published it, but it is a published article. So I had a ton of fun making it, and it was really, really cool just to kind of see all the things. I've got my references down here, so yeah, you can see that this thing lets you build out your resume in pieces, which is great because, again, trying to look at the resume as a whole sometimes can be overwhelming. Maybe for you, you're like, it's not hard, I can do it, it's no problem. But for me, it was really overwhelming trying to put all this together and think about what are all the things I should be putting in my resume, and trying to go and do a research to find out, like, what should I put and what order should it be in. And these guys are like, hey, fill in the pieces for us, and we're going to build this out for you, and we're going to give you a great template so that it has some really, really cool features in it. And you can see over here, you've got all of your little controls. So, I mean, just such an amazing little tool. I mean, just can't tell you how much I enjoyed it. Now that we've done this overview, I know that was very fast. I want to show you how to get it installed. Now that we're several minutes in, I just want to point out that I always have timestamps so that you can go down to the timeline towards the bottom of the video down here and jump around and see where things are at. You can also find those timestamps in the description below a bunch of the links. So if you're wondering where if there's a section at that you're interested in and it's not something I'm getting to sooner, feel free to jump around, check things out that way. It makes it a lot easier to get around in these videos on YouTube. For sure, I'm about to do the installation, and I'm going to go through some basics for the people who are new or who are just looking for this specific software to install and haven't really done a home lab setup before. So stick with me if you're a beginner and you're wanting to go through some of the starting stuff. If you're a little bit more advanced, I'm going to get into the installation of the actual software in just a little bit, so you might want to skip ahead, a few sections, kind of check that out in the timeline. You can kind of find where I'm doing that. So before I do anything, I want to point you to their GitHub. This is super important. I know that it seems really simple, but you should always go out to GitHub and give stars to a project. Make sure that they know that you really love this project. If you're a developer, you might want to fork the project so that you can do a little bit of work on it as well. You might see something where you want to do a little bit of work and submit that back to the project, which is awesome. You can see here how long ago it's been since they've done any kind of commits. So it's been a few months, but they may just be taking some holiday time, they may be taking some breaks. You never know why there's a break like this, but just be patient. Sometimes you just don't see things coming in right away. It's a pretty complete system, so they may just be at a point where they're like, yeah, we're okay right now with it the way it is. When you scroll down, you're going to get to this section that says go to the app. So you can go check out the app and then go to the docs. I always go to the docs, and I have the docs open over here. And right here is self-hosting reactive resume using Docker. This is the part that I like and I want to do. Now, there's other ways to do it, and you're free to go look that up, but Docker makes things so easy. Now, if you've heard the word Docker and you're like, oh my God, I'm leaving this video, hold on. Hold on for 1 second. I promise I will help you understand better that Docker is not a terrible word. Docker is an incredible tool. Now, what I want to explain is that Docker is just a virtual machine. That's all it is. It's just the name of a virtual machine. It's branding for a virtual machine. It's a very, very tiny, very, very, very tiny virtual machine that is very light on resource usage and is really intended to run one application or one set of services. That's all it is. People say, I can't see what's happening in Docker. You can jump into it just like you can jump into an actual virtual machine and get to the command line and do all kinds of stuff if you want to. You just have to know how to do it. So don't just leave because you hear somebody say Docker. Docker is an incredible way to run applications because the developers who work on the Docker application build it so that it will run their application properly. It has all of the things that it should need to run the application besides a few variables you might have to fill in, like your URL or passwords that you want it to use to be more secure or anything like that. if you hear Docker, don't just automatically say, never mind, I'm leaving the video. It's a really, really incredible tool. I would love for you guys to get out there and try it and learn about it, because I mean, really, I feel like if you've had that mindset of, I don't want to use Docker, I hate it, it's terrible, I don't understand it, I can't see what's happening in it, give it a chance. That's all I can say. All right, I'm moving on. So it tells you right here, you are going to need like at least 2 virtual CPUs. Now this is light. In most application software today, you're going to need a couple of virtual CPUs. The thing is, you need 2 virtual CPUs. This is not 2 full CPUs. This is like 2 cores or something like that. If you have a 4-core Raspberry Pi, you've got more than enough headroom to run this application plus a bunch more applications, I guarantee you. 4 gigs of RAM is what they claim. I don't think you need 4 gigs of RAM. I'm running this thing in a little Incus container and it doesn't use up any resources hardly at all. So just believe me when I say they're giving you what they feel like this will run best at. I don't think you're going to need all of that. An SSD with 40 gigabytes of space, yeah, because you got to have an operating system, you got to have the containerization system, and then you got to have the application. So it does take a little bit of space. It doesn't take 40 gigabytes, but I mean, they're saying, hey, look, if you don't have this much left, you're probably not going to want to try to run this because you're running out of space. Your OS, they say Debian 12. I don't think you need Debian 12. Okay. The price is €3.92 per month. That's what they're saying. If you go out and get a VPS, they're suggesting this is the VPS you should get. I don't know for sure, but I would say if you went to DigitalOcean, you could get a DigitalOcean VPS with 1 virtual CPU and 2 gigs of RAM and 25 gigabytes of space and probably still get by with this, unless you're trying to host this for you and all of your friends and all of your family and all of your buddies, in which case you need something more beefy. But if it's just for you, I bet you could get by with one of those smaller servers. It's going to cost you $6 or $12 a month. This €392 per month is pretty nice. This is a pretty nice machine, so who is this with? Because I need to go check them out. But yeah, I mean, really, this is not something where you have to have this kind of beefy server. This is a cheap server, €4 per month. I mean, holy cow. All right, now the Docker Compose right here is, I straight up took this Compose and I put it to work. That I did nothing different, so this is what I'm going to have in my show notes as well. I may have replaced a few things or given you a few comments to help you understand what goes where. The one thing I will say, you don't have to use their built-in authentication, but I am because it's really simple. But you can use different types of authentication. So I don't know what Crowdin is, but you've got email set up that if you want to do email, you need to set that up as well. But you can disable signups here, and you can disable email auth, which I don't think I did either one of those, but I think maybe I did both. I don't know. We'll look at it when I do it. The GitHub client ID, this is to set up GitHub as your authentication portal. This is to set up Google as your authentication portal. And this is to set up OpenID Connect, so OIDC, which you could do with Authentic, Keycloak, Authelia, those kind of applications. So if you want to set up your own auth, you can do that. So here it is for OpenID, just in case you're wanting to do that, you've got that option, which is amazing. And then you've got some volumes that they set up, and I think I changed that when I did this, so we'll kind of go through the way that I changed it as well. But this is the Compose. It's super straightforward. It sets up a Postgres database. It sets up a MinIO storage for block storage. And then it sets up the Chrome browser just to do some PDF stuff where it's building out the PDF of the file you want to get so you can do print and stuff like that. And it's nothing you see. It's really just like, hey, it's running a browser in the background to do that, and then expose it to you on whatever browser you're using. I was using Firefox. It's fine. Then you've got the application itself, and they've got a port that's mapped, and then down here you can see it's linking to Postgres, MinIO, and Chrome. And then right here they give you a little bit of information about if you want to have a public URL, you can have that. If you need to have a storage URL that's different, you can set that up. And then down here, you need to have some different tokens. You've got the database URL, the access token secret, stuff like that. So they have a bunch of defaults already in there, but we will go in and change those things to make them more secure. All right, now I've shown you kind of where to go. This is in the docs. I'll have the docs linked in my show notes and in the description so you guys can get to that. So we're going to jump into a server, and we're actually going to set up a server real quick. So this is where the beginner's tutorial is going to start. If you've not seen my video on using a server or creating a server with Incus containers, you should go back and check that out. I'm going to jump in here, and I'm just going to go to my 2-bay NAS right here, and I'm going to create a new server real quick. Now, this is called an Incus container. It's a tiny little server as well, and we're just going to call this Resumes. and it's Reactive Resumes, and it's a container. And I'm going to pick one that does not have Docker in it yet. So I'm just going to pick this one that says Noble, and I'm going to put a bridge profile. And that's just so I can access the internet and outside network from within this container. And I'm going to tell it I want it to auto start. And then on the security side, when you're doing these little containers like Incus, LXD, LXC, you want to set nesting to true if you're going to run Docker inside of that. And then down here, I'm just going to click on submit. So that's going to create that container for me. Here it is. I'm just going to click on the checkbox, click start. It's going to start that container. It's going to go out and grab an address from my router. And then we're going to SSH over to that guy. Well, actually, we're going to have to work inside of it. So it's already running. I'm going to go here to the exec console. I'm going to pull this up just a little bit. I'm going to start it, and I'm going to pull this up just a little bit, and I'll have my editor zoom in on this part of the screen right here. But the first thing we want to do, anytime we have a new server that we've set up, if it's DigitalOcean, if it's Volta, if it's anybody, you want to do apt update if you're using Ubuntu or Debian, any of those spins. If you're using Red Hat, you would do DNF update. So Red Hat, Fedora, CentOS, Alamo, Rocky. But in our case, we're using Ubuntu, so we do apt update, 2 ampersands, apt upgrade -y. If you're using the Red Hat stuff, you would just do DNF update -y. You don't have to do the second command, it just does everything. But in this case, we need apt update, apt upgrade -y. It's going to go out there and it's going to pull all of the new packages to see like, hey, what needs to be installed, what's new. And it's going to start that installation process. And I'll scroll down just a little bit more. There we go. And it's going to start doing that install. So it's going to run across here and finish up this install real quick. And then we're going to get on with the next part of the video. All right, it's done. So it finished installing everything. Now I'm going to clear that and I'm going to move back up just a little bit so you can see it. And I am going to add a new non-root user. This is very important when you're starting up a server. You don't want to do things as root. That's not considered a good security practice. So we're going to do add user and then the username, Brian. In this case, you'd put whatever name you are, okay? It's going to ask you for a password. So I'm going to put in a strong password here and then I'm going to repeat it. And then I'm going to fill out this information. And you don't have to fill it out. You can just leave it blank. And then I'm going to hit capital Y for yes and enter. So the user Brian is now in the system, but I am not a super user yet. So I need to make the user Brian a super user. For that, we're going to do user mod -a or -a capital G sudo. That's the name of the group we want to add the user or users to, and then Brian. Now the reason we put the group first is because I could say Brian, Mike, Julie, Sarah. So you can add multiple people to that group all at once with this command, but in this case I'm the only one, so we're just going to put Brian. We're going to hit enter. So now I'm added to the system. I can find out what's the IP of the system with IP-BR-4A, and I can use this IP address to access it through SSH now. So I'll copy that. So I'm going to do SSH Brian at, and then I'm going to do Control-Shift-V like Victor to paste in my IP address that I want, and it's going to tell me no connection to host. Oh, we need to install SSH software. Brian, you should know that. So I'm going to re-enter this system, and we're going to do a real quick apt install. We need to install a few things. We're going to install OpenSSH-server. We're going to install the nano editor. We're going to install curl, wget, and git, and then we're going to do a -y so it won't prompt us, and it'll just go install those applications for us real quick. There we go. So that should be updated and installed, and everything we need should be there. We can go back over here. I'll just hit the up arrow, and now I get to SSH in, so I'm going to type in yes, I trust the fingerprint, and I'll put in my password for my super user, and there we go. Now, we are logged into the system. We have a new user that's been added to the system, and we are a super user so that we can do super user tasks, which is part of installation and setting things up. The next thing we need to do is actually add a install Docker. So to install Docker, we can do this with one line command. We're going to do curl https://get.docker.com, and then we're going to do space pipe, that's that vertical line, and then space sh. And what this says is use curl to go grab the script from this location and then run it with the sh command, which means just run it in the shell for me. So that's going to go out there, it's going to grab that script, it's going to say, hey, we need your super user password to do this because we're running installations. So I'm going to put that in, and it's going to start running this install. It's It's going to go download the stuff that we need. It's going to install Docker and Docker Compose all at once with that single line command, which is awesome. All right, Docker is installed. Now, what this is telling you is, hey, the Docker daemon is a fully privileged service. What that means is you need to be using the sudo command or you need to be root in order to run Docker commands. So they want you to do something like sudo docker ps. And you see I get the table. If I just do docker ps, it gives me an error because I did not put in sudo. But I don't want to type sudo every time. So what we can do is we can add ourselves to the Docker group. So we're going to do sudo user mod space hyphen little a capital G, just like we did before. So this is modify the user, add them to the group, and we're going to tell it what group, Docker, and we're going to tell them what user, Brian in my case, you'd put your username. And it's added me to that group. Now, if I try to do Docker PS, it's still going to give me that error because we have not given it the things that it needs in order to make sure that group takes effect. So we can either just exit and SSH right back in, which is very easy and very quick. Or you can do newgrp like this, and then newgrp space docker, and you don't have to exit and log back in if you do those two commands, and you'll be able to do docker ps, and there you go, you get the same little table headers that we got before. So now we've got Docker installed and Docker Compose installed, and we're ready to go set up our folder structure so we can get Reactive Resumes set up. So here we're going to do mkdir-p docker/resumes. What this says is, make the directory Docker if it doesn't exist, but if it does, just use the one that's there. Inside of that folder, I want you to create the directory resumes if it doesn't exist. If it does, just use the one that's there. So it's a really, really powerful command whenever you use the -p. We're going to hit enter. Now if we do an ls, we see Docker, so we can cd Docker. And if we do an ls, we see resumes, so we can do cd resumes, just like that. Now we're into that folder we needed. If we do ls, there's nothing there. ls-a, nothing there. So now we need to create our compose.yaml file. So we're going to do nano, which is a text editor, compose.yaml. So we're telling it, hey, we want to create this file called compose.yaml. Now it's empty, so we need to have our compose.yaml text. That's what we had over here in the documentation. So let's go back to the documentation. Right here, sorry. And we can grab all of this. We don't need all of it. We're just going to grab the services part right here, and we're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom and get everything. And we're going to do control copy. We're going to go back to our terminal, control shift V like Victor to paste it all in. It even comes in with the indentations, which is great because YAML is space dependent. It is not like tabs, it wants spaces. So under something new, you would put 2 spaces, just like this does. So it's telling us, hey, we're going to use the Postgres database. It's going to call the service Postgres. The image is Postgres. It's going to use 16 Alpine, which is pretty new, I believe. It's going to restart this service. If it stops for some reason, it's going to restart it. If it crashes, it'll restart it. Unless you tell it, stop this service, it'll keep restarting it. So that's why we have unless stopped there. That's a good thing. The volume it's going to use is Postgres data. Now, I like to make one little change to these things when it lets me. I like to do /Postgres data. And what this means is, keep this folder inside of the current directory I'm in. So where this compose.yaml file is going to be, it's going to create this folder as well. And what that does is it lets me just zip up the Docker resumes folder and back that up, and it's got all of my data in there with it, and I can move that, I can transfer it, I can just save it in case something bad happens and I need to bring it back up. So you really, really want to make sure that you've got this thing set and ready to go. Now, this is funny to me. We've got these environment variables. So Postgres DB is going to be called Postgres. That's fine. Postgres user, Postgres. That's fine. Postgres password. This is not good. We don't want that. Let's give this like a 20-character password that's uppercase, lowercase, and numbers. So we're going to do anything random. It doesn't matter, but we'll just do something like that. Now, this command, it says, hey, test this thing. See if Postgres is ready. Use -u, which is the user, Postgres, -d, which is the database Postgres. If you change this username or this database name right here, you need to come down and change the corresponding one here. So for this Postgres user here, if you change that to something else, you need to change this value right here to whatever that was. If you change the database value, you need to change this value right here, because what this is going to do is going to run a health check to make sure Postgres is up and running. All right, so that's Postgres. We've got that password. We'll need it again here in a minute. We're going to move on down. We've got MinIO. Okay, so MinIO is a object storage system that works on the S3 API basically. So it's going to go grab MinIO, it's going to set up the server data, it's going to set it up to run on port 9000 and 9000. If you need to change this left side port, you can, but I recommend leaving it alone if you can possibly do that. The volume, it's going to create one called MinIO data. I'm going to do the same thing as I did before. I'm going to put ./ which means keep it in this same folder. As we move down, the environment variables are MinIO root user, which is MinIO admin. Okay, that's fine, but the MinIO root password, we want to change this. Again, we want to make this something long and complex and complicated with upper and lower numbers. So we'll just do something else random, something like that. So you want to make this a nice, long, strong password, okay? Next thing we're going to do is we're going to get into the Chrome browser section. So it says, it's just going to use Chrome to basically open things up. It's nothing that we have to worry about, but hey, it's just going to say, look here. It says upgrading to newer versions causes issues, so we're going to leave it at this version. It's fine. So down here they've got a timeout, 10,000, that's probably 10 seconds. Concurrent items at a time, 10. It's going to have a Chrome token. It's got some things set. We don't need to mess with the Chrome section, I just wanted you to see it. Down here is the app section. Now the app section, this is on port 3000. Now, if we don't want to use port 3000, we can change this left side. If 3000 is already in use on your system, you can change this to some other number. But if you don't have to, try not to change it. But you can if you need to. Now here, it depends on Postgres, MinIO, and Chrome. We've got some environment variables. So the port, if you change this port up here from 3000, you may need to change this variable as well. But I don't think so. I think this is an internal variable, so it'll match the part on the right side. And then the node environment is production, so we're going to leave that alone. It's got a public URL. If you want to use this on a public system, you need to change this to whatever that's going to be. So if you're going to set up a reverse proxy, and this is going to be accessed at resume.yourgreatdomain.com, that's what you want to put there. If you're going to access this from your home server that you're setting it up on, just like we're doing right now, we want to put in the IP address of that server. So we're going to put in 192.168.10. What was this? 84. Let me just check, and I'll tell you for sure. But I think that's right. So we can go back here. Yeah, 84. So it is. So we're going to put that, and then we're going to put colon 3000 because that's how we're going to access it. Right here, we're just going to get rid of this part inside the square brackets, and again, we'll put in the IP address. Just to start, we'll set it up like that. So there's your Chrome token information. It's going to use WebSockets, Chrome, the database URL. Since we changed the password, we need to go here and change this part between the colon and the @ symbol. So we're going to go back up here to the top, and we're going to grab this password from the Postgres section. We want to make sure we get the one for Postgres. We're going to grab this one right here. And we're going to copy that guy. You can right click and click on copy. And we're going to go back down here to this section right there. And we're going to right click and we're going to do paste. So now we've got our password in there for our Postgres database. That's important. You need to change that. The access token and access secret, we can change these to something random. We don't need these to be actual tokens and refresh token. So we want to make these something random as well. Now there's a short way to do the random stuff. If you just go through and erase it, you can actually go out and do it inside the command line, then copy and paste it back in here. You can open up a separate command line and do it as well. So if I do Control-Shift-N, that opens up a brand new command line on my current local machine. And we can do OpenSSL-rand, I think is the right one. Let me make sure I've got the right command for you guys. Yeah, it's not dash, it's just rand32. Oh, I did do that. Let's do base 64. Rand32 -- base 64. Is that wrong? Let me look it up. It's right here behind it. I need to put the base 64 before the 32. Okay, -- base 64 like that. And there we go. Now we've got a nice long token that's got our 32 characters in it. We can copy that with Control-Shift-C and switch back to the other terminal and just paste it in for one of these values up here. And then we can do it again to get the other value. And we're going to get a completely different token here, which is great. This is a great way to build random tokens, by the way. We'll copy that one, go back in, paste it in. So now we've got two random tokens there. The SMTP URL. So if you're going to use email and you want to set up SMTP email, you need to go through and set up your SMTP URL. So depending on how this is set up on your hosting provider, you would put in your username, which is probably an email address, at whatever password you have, and then you need to put another @ symbol, SMTP:587. So you need to find how this works with your email provider, but this is where you would set up your SMTP email. I didn't set it up, so I don't want to go through that right now. Your storage endpoint is a min.io, and then you've got the storage access key and the storage secret key. I think these align with the username and password up above, so we need to go grab that min.io password that we created right here. And we're just going to do Control-Shift-Copy. Go back down to this min.io section, and we want to put that in that storage secret key. SSL false, because it's all going through the back end, we don't need to set that to true. We're going to continue down. So there's all the stuff you have for your login options. So if you want to do the OpenID, you would need to uncomment these things. And to do that, you just come here and remove 2 spaces back so that it gets highlighted like that. And you've removed that comment by removing that #. If you want to comment it back out, put a pound and a space, just like that. So I'm not going to set this up right now, but there we go. Now we've got these volumes. We don't need those volumes because we told it, hey, we want to have the volumes actually built in. So you can use Control-K to get rid of the line you're on. So that's what I did right there. I just put it on that top line and hit Control-K to get rid of those. You can delete them however you want to do it. I'm going to save with Control-O and Enter and Control-X. So we've made all the changes to the system that we need to make. Now we need to pull down our images. So we're going to do Docker Compose Pull. Now I do this separately. If you just do the Docker Compose up-d, it'll pull them and start it. I just do this to make sure, does it find any issues with my YAML? It doesn't seem to. It's pulling down the images, which is great. If it's got issues with what you've got in your YAML file, it'll give you an error and it won't pull these down. You just need to be patient while it pulls this stuff down. It's going to take a minute because these are pretty big projects. All right, that took a minute. These projects, remember how I said 40 gigs of space on the drive you needed? That's also for storage of some of the information you're putting, if you're putting images, things like that. But the projects themselves were about a little over 1.5 gigs, so about 1 3/4 gigs of space just for that. Chrome is the biggest one, is 1.2 gigs. It's ridiculous. But just know that it does take up a little bit of space. So we've got those projects pulled down. We're going to do Docker Compose up-d and then 2 ampersands Docker Compose logs-f. And this is really the concatenation of 2 commands. So first, Docker Compose is telling our system to bring up the containers from the images we just pulled and run them in the background in a detached mode or as a daemon. Then we have Docker Compose logs, and the -f means follow. So we're telling it, hey, bring those up, and once they're up and running, show me the log output as it's starting up so that we can see if there's any errors or anything like that. Let's hit enter. It's going to try to create that stuff. It's going to get it going here. So it says the server is up and running on port 3000. So once you see this message, you can go back to your browser and you can try to access the system through that IP address for that server, 192.168.10.84, and then :3000. We didn't change the port, so it's just 3000. And you should see something like this. It's the Reactive Resumes page. And we're going to go here and we're going to click on Get Started. So when you get here, you're going to see this sign into your account. Right below that, you'll see this one that says, hey, don't have an account, create one now. So you're going to click on that and you'll put in your name. So it's valuable to put in your full name in this case. And a username you want, so you can make that whatever you want. You can make it an email address if that's what you want. So that's what I'm going to do. Put in an email address. And then put in a strong password there. And once you have that, we'll hit sign up. Oh, it doesn't want us to have that as a username, so we'll just put Brian. And then hit sign up. There we go. Verify our email address. So please note that this step is completely optional. You don't have to do that. So we can go to our dashboard and we are logged in to our Reactive Resumes. I know this was a lot, but I try to get everything set for the beginners. So hopefully you guys who are beyond that, we're skipping ahead to get to this part where we set up the Docker Compose and went through and got things set up. But now you're inside of your Reactive Resumes system. Now, I set this up to be accessible through an IP address and a port number. But what if I want to access this from outside of my network? If you want to do that, then you need to have a reverse proxy set up, and I really recommend something like Pangolin or Netbird to do that so that you're going through a VPS on the outside where it reverse proxies into your internal network so that you can get through there and access that in a more secure way. So I'm going to show you how to set that up really quick as well, so stick with me. This video is sponsored by me. That's right. Did you know that I wrote a novel? I did. And it's a science fiction novel. It follows a guy named Dave, who's a pretty normal guy with a normal job, who happens to fall into a little bit of a less normal job, but doesn't realize it. He goes on some incredible adventures. He has some really cool things that he has to get done. It's just a passion project. I think you're going to love it. It's an action. It's an adventure. It's just so much fun. I understand if you don't want to do Patreon or PayPal, but maybe you'd like to get something out of some money that you're donating back to me. So by buying a book, you're paying me back. And at the same time, you're getting something out of it. You can jump over to Amazon. I'll have links in the description. You can jump over and get the ebook, the paperback, or the hardcover. I'll have links for as many countries as I can get links for, so no matter where you are, you can get a copy of the book. It is English only. It has not been translated. I just do want to put that out there. But I hope you'll get it. I hope you'll enjoy it. And let me know that you enjoyed it as well. Now let's get back to the program. So if we want to set that up to be accessed through our network, but from the outside over the internet, we want to give it a domain name and a domain. Now I own the domain name routemehome.org, so I'm going to set this up as resume.routemehome.org. Before we do anything, we need to go back to our server. We'll just hit Control-C to stop watching our logs, which is fine. And we're going to do Docker Compose down. So we'll bring down all of those services real quick, and we're going to nano compose.yaml. And we're going to go down to this part that asked us about the public URL. So if you remember where that was, we're just going to scroll down here to get to it. And if you remember, we replaced all of this with the IP address that we wanted it to be able to access it through. So instead, we're going to get rid of all that, and we're going to put in resume.routemehome.org. In my case, you would use a domain you own. And we're going to do the same thing here, except we're going to leave that /default. So we're going to do resume.routemehome.org/default. Okay. So we're going to hit Control-O to save our changes. Enter. Control-X to exit. And now we're going to do Docker Compose up -D again, and we're going to do --force-recreate. So it just force it to recreate those containers, make sure it picks up those changes. It usually does on its own, but it doesn't hurt to type that in. So it already says that everything is started and created. Now, before we try to access it through that domain, we need to tell it how does it reach it. So we're going to go back to our browser and we're going to open up our reverse proxy software. And here I've got my stuff set up. So I'm going to go to the Route Me Home site and I'm going to add a new resource. And this is through the Pangolin interface. So on the Pangolin interface, I've got multiple sites set up for Route Me Home. I'm going to go to my resources, which is my actual web page. This is like nodes where I can use those nodes to get into those networks and access the services on them. The resources are the actual applications we want to access. So in this case, we want to create a new resource. I'm going to give it a name, and this is just Reactive Resumes. I do want to use my home ingress, but if I wanted to change, I could change it to something else, but I'm going to use my home ingress site. I'm going to leave it on HTTPS. I'm going to leave it as subdomain, and I'm going to type in resume, because that's what I told it I was going to use. And then you see it's already selected routemehome.org, but I've added other domains that I own that I could choose from if I wanted to. So I'm going to leave it on routemehome.org, and I'm going to hit next. Now, that's already created that, but I have to tell it, well, where is that? So inside of the network where the home ingress node is at, I have to tell it where is this at. So I'm going to tell it 192.168.10.84, and it runs on port 3000. I'm going to say add that, and I'm going to save it. Now I got to do one other thing. I'm going to do authentication. I'm going to turn off the authentication through Pangolin because it's got its own authentication built into the application, and I'm going to click save one more time. Now while I'm doing all this, it's going out there and saying, hey, let's encrypt. Try to give me a certificate for resume.routemehome.org. So be a little patient. It might take 30 seconds to a couple of minutes depending on what's going on the internet and on your network. But once you've given it a little bit of time, you can go back to your resource page. You can just search resume, and you see it brings it up very quickly. And now I can just click on this, and it should open it up. And there we are. We are back at my resume site, and I can say get started, and I can log in with that user I just created like that, and we can say sign in. And you can see now I'm in. I'm using my public domain to access this on my local network in a very secure way. I don't have any ports forwarded on my router or on my firewall. I don't have anything open to the internet anymore. I'm really doing this all through WireGuard, a VPN that keeps everything encrypted on top of HTTPS, which keeps everything encrypted because of Let's Encrypt. And it's all really just a great way to do things and a really easy way to get things set up. So if you haven't seen that Pangolin video, like I said, go back and check it out, get that set up, and then you can set up your home lab and have access to all of your home services in a very secure way. From this point on, you really kind of know how to do these things. You can go here and you can actually just do, say, like import an existing resume. So if you have something already existing, you can import it and start working with that. You don't have to start from scratch if you don't want to. But I really like doing it this way, you know, giving it a title, new resume director. I don't know. How about that? And we're just going to say create. And there's our resume. So it starts off pretty templated. We're just going to say open that guy up, and you'll see it's really blank. It wants us to go and fill in all of this information. It's got a lot of my personal information already, but here's my summary. Here's nothing because I don't have any profiles in there. No experience, no education, no skills. I can go in and start adding these things and building out my resume. So I can put in, I have been a director, let's see, the company was YouTube Director of Finance. And we can put in when I was that. Never to now. And the location was made up. And the website is https://youtube.com. Something like that. Okay? And then you can put in what you did. So you can say, was responsible for removing all ads from YouTube and going straight donation model. Right? We wish. You save that and look at that. It's on my resume. There's my information. There's my experience. And my resume is starting to be built out. So you can see it as you go. You can change things. You can edit it. You can look at how it looks. You can change your template. You can say, you know, I don't like that. Oh, I don't like that. Oh, I really like that one. That's great. Or you can go back, you know, to whatever you want. The greatest thing is you've really got tons of choices, and you can kind of figure out your layout as you're going along and adding things and look at it and see how it feels. And then you can always go back and change things if you just really don't want to leave it the way it is. I think this is an awesome tool. I hope you guys will get out there and give it a shot. Make sure to go give them a star on GitHub. Make sure to give them a little bit of cash if you really use it and love it, because I think it's amazing. It's always important to support open source. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, like, subscribe, tell your friends about it so they can come along the open source journey with us, and I'll talk to you next time.